Hey, what's up guys? I'm Chris.
I'm Reckless.
Today we're going to do Mr. Ballin video. We're going to do the top 3 photos with disturbing backstories. We're doing part 10, so let us know if we should do the other ones. Didn't we do it on your channel?
No, we did like way more than just one.
No, I'm talking about like the part 10. How we did like.
No, we did a part 9 the other day. That's probably why. I think we did part 9 the other day. Part 9 or somewhere. It might have been another. I think it was part 9. I think we did part 9, honestly. Or it probably wasn't.
It was a part of something. Maybe it wasn't the disturbing photos, but yeah. Anyways, make sure you guys comment those and any other videos, and make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
Today, I'm going to share with you 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I'm going to share with you the picture or pictures that are famously associated with them. But before I get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please put hot dog water ice cubes in the like button's lemonade. Also subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories. At 7:27 p.m. on February 9th, 2004, a woman called the Grafton County Sheriff's Department to report a car accident. A small black sedan appeared to be wedged up against a snowbank off the side of the highway near this woman's house in Woodsville, New Hampshire. The sheriff thanked her for calling and dispatched officers to check it out. 16 minutes later, at 7:43 p.m., the sheriff's department gets another call about this black sedan up against the snowbank, and it came in from a local school bus driver. The driver said he was going down the road and he sees this black sedan up against the side of the road, and what appeared to be the driver, this young woman, no one was helping her. So the school bus driver pulls over and walks up to her. She says her name is Maura Murray. She's 21 years old. She's a college student in Massachusetts. She seemed totally fine, but was adamant that he did not call the police. And so the school bus driver...
It's the same car?
Yeah, that car.
They said 2 calls. They said 2 calls. About the same car or a different one?
No, I thought it was the black sedan.
Oh, I thought it was 2 black sedans, different ones, but the same.
At the time, he didn't call the police. He kind of sized her up as seeming like she was okay. She said she was going to call for a tow truck, and so he left thinking she was going to be just fine. But only a couple of minutes after leaving the scene, he felt like, you know what, I got to call the police because something just seemed off. The sheriff tells him that they had already gotten a call about 20 minutes earlier and that officers would be there any minute, and I'm sure she's just fine. 3 minutes later, the officer who was originally dispatched to check out this black sedan shows up and radios in and says, the black sedan is here, but there's no girl, there's no driver. Police do an initial search of the area. They can't find Maura. There's no sign of where she would have gone. There's no sign of a struggle. They get in touch with Maura's family. They can't get in touch with Maura, and so it's like she just kind of vanished. And so that night, they labeled Maura officially a missing person. On February 8th, the day before Maura went missing, she was with her father. They went out to eat, and he would say to police that she seemed totally normal. There was no red flags. There was no clear stressors in her life. Everything just seemed normal. The next morning when she gets up on February 9th, this is the day she goes missing, she finds out that all of her classes that day have been canceled because of a snowstorm. She gets up, goes over to her computer, and emails all of her professors as well as her work supervisor and tells them that there's been a death in her family and she needs to take the next week off. Family members would say that there was no death in the family, that was a lie. After emailing her professors, she drives to an ATM, withdraws $280, and then goes to a liquor store and buys $40 worth of alcohol. She also stopped at the Amherst DMV to get some paperwork she needed for some damage that had been done to her car. After that, we don't really know what she was doing until she wound up on that snowbank in Woodsville, New Hampshire. When police searched her abandoned car, they found printed out directions to a condo complex in Burlington, Vermont. Cell phone records show Maura had placed a call to one of the owners of a condo that had been put up for rent, but Maura had not indicated to anyone in her life that she was looking to rent a condo in Burlington, Vermont. Nor had she indicated to anyone that she might be traveling to Vermont for any reason. When they searched her dorm room, all of her belongings had been packed and her room had been meticulously cleaned. It was clear that she was getting ready to leave her dorm, but this is mid-semester. There's no reason she'd be leaving prematurely. And on top of her belongings in her dorm room was this typed up note to her boyfriend detailing all of their relationship issues. It wasn't a breakup note, but it was definitely something close to that. Most of Maura's belongings were either in her dorm room, all packed up, or in her abandoned car. But her cell phone, debit cards, and credit cards were all missing. However, they were never used again after the day she went missing, February 9th. 6 days after Maura went missing, a massive search is conducted around her abandoned car. They covered 20 square miles. They had helicopters, they had scent-sniffing dogs, they had hundreds of people on the ground, and there was just no trace of her. But even more strangely, on the night Maura went missing, there was snow on the ground. So you'd think you'd be able to find a couple footprints showing you where Maura might have gone. But there was none. And the scent-sniffing dogs could only track her scent about 100 feet away from the car before they lost the scent. It was like she vanished into thin air. So something happened to Maura Murray between 7:46 p.m. when the bus driver left the scene and called the police. He said she was there, he saw her, and 7:49 p.m. when the officer who was dispatched arrived on scene.
He missing though. He talking about the bus driver still. They said somebody else called.
Yeah, there was like, that's what I said.
Somebody else called, so that's somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I said. What, 3 people?
But they said the bus driver met her. That don't mean that the dude could have still been sick. I don't know, shit.
The bus driver.
And Maura's not there. She went somewhere. We just don't know where or why or with who. And unfortunately, to this day, this case remains unsolved. Here is the final picture of Maura Murray. This is her withdrawing $280 at that ATM shortly before she hopped back in her car, drove up to Woodsville, New Hampshire, crashed on the side of the road, and then disappeared.
I don't know about that one.
Armin Meiwes seemed like a really good guy. He mowed his neighbor's lawn, he offered to fix his friends' cars, he would host these great dinner parties at his house. But underneath that charming outer layer, Armin Meiwes was a deeply disturbed individual. In 2001, Armin would place an ad on the internet seeking a young, well-built man that is looking to be slaughtered and then consumed. Meiwes actually got a lot of replies to this, and people acted like they were interested, but I think people were just responding because it was such an outrageous thing he was asking for, so no one went through with it. Until a man named Bernard Brandis saw it, who had previously placed an ad on the internet himself, asking if there was anybody out there that would slaughter and eat him. So perfect match. So Brandis reaches out to Armin and says, yes, I'd love to. And on March 9th, 2001, the two meet up at Armin's house. Brandis lays down in the bathtub while Armin sets up a video camera. He wants to film this for a variety of reasons, but mostly he wants to make sure that everybody sees that Brandis is doing this willingly. On camera, Brandis gives Armin the go-ahead. Initially, Armin tries biting into Brandis, but apparently he was too chewy, so Brandis suggests he gets a knife. After successfully removing a piece of Brandis, Armin fries it up in a pan, and the two of them begin to eat it. But apparently it was too burned to either of their liking, and they would feed that piece of him to the dog.
This is for real?
What are they talking about when they saying they don't like it, or it's too tough, or it's too slimy, or it's too this, it's too that?
It's wrong.
A human being.
Let's start there. It's wrong.
Like, what is
At this point,
stories,
Brandis is
bro?
in and out of consciousness because he's losing a lot of blood, so Armin decides to take a break and go to his room and read a Star Trek book. When Armin goes back in the bathroom, it's clear that Brandis is still alive, but he's on the verge of death. So, after much deliberation and quite a bit of praying, Armin ultimately ends Brandis's life and then proceeds to butcher him and put all of his meat into a freezer. Over the next 10 months, Armin would consume over 44 pounds of Brandis. In December of 2001, Armin put another ad online seeking somebody else that wanted to be eaten, and that ad would get sent to the police, who would go to Armin's house. They would find Brandis's remains behind pizza boxes in the back of his freezer, and they would arrest Armin. Despite showing police the videotape that showed Brandis repeatedly consenting to what was happening to him, Armin was still given a life sentence. This is the picture that Brandis put online in hopes that it would attract someone that would want to eat him. And this is the bathtub where Armin Meiwes would grant Brandis that wish.
Whoa.
Given a life sentence. This is the picture that Brandis put online in hopes that it would attract someone that would want to eat him. And this is the bathtub where Armin Meiwes would grant Brandis that
This where it happened at?
wish.
You don't believe him?
I Oh no.
A disaster began to
Howard
quietly
the
unfold
Toad.
at 8:49 a.m. on April 16th, 2014. The Sewol Ferry that was on a routine trip to Jeju Island in South Korea was beginning to lean very badly to one side. The ferry had recently undergone illegal renovations, adding a whole bunch of new rooms to the top of the ferry that made it much more profitable, but dangerously top-heavy. Corrupt regulators who were bought off with fancy dinners and travel allowed the ship to sail unsafe despite never having stepped foot on board. Had they gone on the ship themselves, they would have seen immediately how unsafe it was. On April 16th, the day this ferry is making its way to Jeju Island and is now leaning to one side, ferry workers had loaded twice the legal limit onto the ferry and then hadn't properly secured really any of it. So there were cars and shipping containers that were not tethered. So as the badly balanced Sewol Ferry is making its way out to Jeju Island, it hits some very strong currents and makes a sharp turn to avoid them, causing the ship to begin to keel over. As soon as it begins to keel over, all those unsecured cars and containers all shift all at once to one side of the ship, causing it to completely roll over on its side and begin sinking. On board were 476 passengers, of which 325 were high school students on a school trip. As soon as the ship comes to rest on its side, the captain comes over the intercom and tells everybody to stay in your rooms and await further instruction.
I was just about to
Stay in your room.
So basically, what they're saying is, stay in your room.
Everybody gonna die.
Bye. See you later. See you when. I don't know. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong here. I would not stay in my room. I don't know what, but I would not stay in my room. You gonna stay in your room?
Hell no.
And everybody listens.
We
They
leave.
all stay in their room.
We
And
just
honestly,
swim.
you can't blame them because they're on a routine ferry trip that happens dozens of times a day without any incident. And the captain of the ship is telling you everything's fine. You just stay where you are. We'll tell you what to do next. After a little while, a lot of the students start to feel a little bit anxious because there's been no further instruction. They're still sideways, and they're starting to realize
Bro,
that if they
hell
needed to,
no.
it would be hard to get out
Stay
of
in
the
the
ship.
room, though.
A lot of
Stay in
them
the
were
room.
way into the bowels of the ship, and they would literally need to climb up and out of the ship to safety. A student actually called the authorities and said, "Hey, I think the ship I'm on is sinking." And the
I don't
authorities
think,
hadn't
nigga,
heard of
it
it
is.
because the captain and the
They
crew of the
probably
ship
sideways,
were
I
just
think.
totally crippled and could not make a decision and had wasted all this time that they could have been evacuating people and getting help, and instead were just panicked and frozen in terror. There would be over 20 calls from students pleading with authorities to come save them because now they know the ship is sinking because they can hear the sound of water
yeah.
rushing into the ship, and it's just a matter of time before it reaches them. Finally, almost an hour after the ship had originally keeled over onto its side, the captain issues the evacuation call to the whole ship. But at this point, water's already getting into the compartments where these students have been told to stay, and students aren't able to leave, and there's this panic to get out of the ship. So the evacuation order was doing nothing. It was already too late. One person who survived, who had left early and disobeyed the stay in your room order, they had climbed to the top of the ship, which was really the side of the ship, and they were looking down into the ship through a hallway. And they said there was this mass of people that were coming out of their rooms and trying to climb up this hallway right as a rush of water poured in through the side of this hallway and completely filled it, and they were gone. Later on, when divers would go down to recover the bodies, they would find that many of the students had broken fingers from desperately trying to climb up those hallways when water was pouring in on them. After the divers recovered the bodies, investigators began going through their cell phones to get some sense of what happened. And on their phones were these tragic pictures and videos of these students staying in their rooms like they were told to do, just waiting for their captain to
But
give
why?
them further instruction that never came. The captain actually abandoned ship right after that 9:30 call to evacuate came when hundreds of students were still down below. He left the ship. So they were totally on their own, just waiting for help that never came. Of the 476 passengers, 304 would perish, and many believe that almost all of them could have been saved had they just evacuated
Right.
as soon as the ship keeled over. And so as a result of his gross negligence,
Where
the
is
captain
that
was
shit?
given a life sentence. So that's going to do it, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these 3 stories, and I will pin the best comment at the top of the comment section. If you enjoyed today's video and you haven't done this already, please put hot dog water ice cubes in the like button's lemonade. Also subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. If you want to get in touch with me, you can direct message me on Instagram.
That he wanted to do that.
Wanted to do what?
To let all them people.
A lot of people do what?
To not evacuate. If he would have been smarter, any regular person would evacuate.
I don't know.
If I'm leaning on the ship, the whole everything is leaning, I'm getting off the ship. I mean.
Right.
I don't know.
I like a lot of this shit, these stories that he be talking about, like, if you actually sit and think, like, it be some messed up ass shit.
I would say, and you sit and think, like, we're not gonna do that.
I sit and think of, like, the lives, like, them high schoolers. Like,
yeah.
He got a life sentence, and I wonder what else happened.
Yeah.
Like, with the families and stuff like that, because, like, I don't know. That shit a lot.
He's in there for life. I don't know, but make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and let us know if we should do part 11 or any other parts, and on the road to 50K. So stay tuned for the next video.